The storyteller killed my pa!
Hey there, it's Jason. I'm also Junior. A lot of people might not have known that, but I'd say most people know me as the Storyteller. You could probably tell that was my voice. So, what is my story? How did I get started with Shoddycast all those years ago? 2013 is when it started. They put out a call on Odesk. It's called different now. It's called Upwork now. But they were looking for a narrator for a Fallout lore series. And I'm all like, hey, I played the Fallout games. I've been there since the beginning. And I have been. I've been playing all the Bethesda games since before they were Bethesda games. I was there when Fallout first came out, and I was there when Arena was first released. A little audition tape I recorded for them and sent it in, and they went over them and listened to them and decided that I was the voice they wanted to use. Inspired by Ron Perlman, I went through and figured out, okay, how can I be a little Ron Perlman-ish, Ron Perlman-esque, and yet still have my own voice as part of it. Because if you go back and listen to the very first episode back in 2013, you'll still hear, mostly storyteller kind of sound to it.
Tamriel.
On October 23rd, 2077, the nightmares became all too real when the Great War commenced. But it didn't develop into the storyteller, until quite a bit later, until kind of, I think, near the end of that first season, as nuances started developing. And once we realized that I wasn't just a faceless narrator that actually wanted to put a character behind me, hey, let's give them some strange little narrative quirks and speech mannerisms that maybe just a generic narrator wouldn't have. They seemed to like it, and fans seemed to like it, so I just kind of kept on going with that. So if you listen to the very last episode of Season 1 and compare it with the very first episode of Season 1, they sound quite a bit different. I'd say the storyteller at the end of Season 1 sounds a lot more like you hear the storyteller now. Just think if you go back and hear like the very first, Simpsons episodes, Homer sounds way different than, what we think of as Homer sounding like nowadays. Yeah, the very first time you hear a character isn't necessarily what that character is going to sound like and be memorable as, because I just went back and listened to, again, Season 1, Episode 1 to kind of reminisce a little bit. These lucky few form the primitive tribal societies that struggled for survival in the years immediately following the war. You could tell it's me, but quite a bit different than the storyteller of nowadays, telling you about chems and vehicles and super mutants, and as you listen to your Wasteland Codex on your Pip-Boy playing through Fallout 4. In addition to also voicing Junior, you guys might also know I was the voice of whenever Grognak would pop in and it'd sound like Arnold. I'd always gotten my start way back before I did any narration. I would like to do impersonations and stuff like that. So Arnold was always a popular one. People would come to me before. So what better than Grognak sounding like Arnold? Because Arnold got his start in the movie business back doing Conan the Barbarian back in 1982. So whenever you think of a barbarian, I think of the old Conan. I think of Arnold. So that's why I thought Grognak should sound like Arnold, because that's what originally Conan sounded like. When I first recorded Junior, I had no idea he was going to be a recurring character. So I kind of blew my voice out a little bit, given the very first old crotchety old. It hurt after I'd recorded my Junior lines. And then once I found out, oh no, we're going to see a lot more of Junior, I had to change him up considerably so I wouldn't blow out my voice every time I recorded him. Because even then I had to save him for the very end of the day. I'd have to record all my storyteller lines and whoever else I was also doing recordings for, or I would run the risk of seriously hurting myself. Because if you go back and listen to the very first episode where Junior makes an appearance, he sounds quite a bit different than the Juniors of later.
Now, the car weren't mine to begin with, but ain't none of you touching this rifle.
Because I think I might have been even sick or hoarse with a bad cold that day or something like that. And so I just went and overdid it. And I couldn't replicate that and still be able to talk normally after that. So hence why Junior made a big change from his very first time to subsequent times. how is my recording process? Usually I get a script sent to me via email from usually Josh, sometimes Kyle, sometimes even I've gotten stuff directly from Charles. But usually Josh has been the guy that sends me something. Often if I can, I'll try to record that very night, or at least the next night, because my best time to record is late at night when everything is silent in the background. I work out of a home office. I'm not going to spend the crazy amounts of money it takes to soundproof a home office, to put up the eggshell carton, crate foam, and reflective, non-reflective paneling, and the stuff you see in the expensive audio recording studios in the big cities. I can't afford that. I'm too poor. So I got to record late at night when there's no background noise, no dogs barking, no weed eaters going, no chainsaws, neighbors cutting down trees. I don't have to worry about that sort of thing if I'm recording around midnight. Yeah, as long as I don't have the window open, you can't hear any cars way down the street. So that's my process, late at night. And recording something like the Storyteller, I've got him in my back pocket at all times. So even if I can't record as my regular voice, like if I just am doing a regular narration, say like for OSHA, if you need to do some hazardous materials training. I've done a lot of stuff for OSHA over the years. It's easier for me to record as the Storyteller, especially when I'm sick, than it is for my regular voice. Because if my regular voice is like this, I can still pull out the Storyteller. And it just means he's slightly more gravelly. So you can, if you go back and listen to it, hey, Storyteller's just a little bit more gravelly in that episode. I might have been so sick I couldn't have normally spoke otherwise. For somehow, I can always do the Storyteller. As long as I can breathe, Storyteller can come out of me. So I can be an old man still, like Frank Welker is, what, about 70 now, and he's still doing the voice of Fred from Scooby-Doo, which he's been doing for almost 50 years now. Still going strong. So, hey, if you want me to be the Storyteller until I'm, it's me, the Storyteller, then sure, I'm up for it. Hey, that'll be a story for another day. Looks like I'm already out of time. So, maybe another one of these will come along, and I'll jot down a few questions just in case I didn't have enough. Just in case I had more time than I had stuff to talk about. So if you ever want to catch and see what I'm up to, you can catch me on Twitter, @TheRealKank. You can catch me, I don't do much for my own YouTube channel, which is Kankenon, Kankennon. If you want to send in some questions to Shoddycast, or even to me, and maybe if they want me to do another one of these little talk-alongs, then maybe I can answer some of the questions during that time. So, it's been fun. Hopefully, this was something you guys liked listening to. This has been The Storyteller, and that will be a story for another day.